My name is Charles Ruffin. I'm going to provide you an informational speech on how to build a record label. What does that exactly mean? Well, maybe you're thinking about trying to start your own record label because you're in the music business and you're trying to get your name out there. Well, this informational speech will hopefully grasp onto those concepts, provide you a few different resources, and be able to step you into the right direction as far as getting the resources that you need to make a good footprint and create your own record label. So the first thing you want to do is you want to sell your music, right? But you want to also catch people's attention. Now you're also identifying with people saying, hey, I have a record label. Well, what does that exactly mean? Well, we're going to look at a few things to help you get that foundation started that you need in order to actually get that record label name out there and legitimize yourself. A source that I found named Adam Freeman, he said that ultimately, if you signed up for a SoundCloud and you created a Facebook page, that is technically making you your own record label. So we're going to look at a few resources that you need in order to get you started in the right direction. Here's just a brief overview of what I'll be covering today. In these slides, it shows the main 5 points that I'll be talking to. Choosing the music that you want to sell. What kind of artist are you? Are you a country artist, hip-hop artist, rock and roll? Do you like that alternative rock? Well, you need to pick a genre and try to stick with it. Or, if you do blend different genres, stick with the ones that are more popularly seen with each other. Then, you want to choose a name, right? Maybe you've already got something already in the works in the back of your brain housing group. Well, if you choose a name, you want to make sure that it actually exists. So I'll show you a few things that you can use as far as resources to help you find out whether that name is taken or not. Then you want to establish your brand look. What is that going to look like? That's going to be the first thing that people look at. Getting that brand look is going to be really important, and I'll show you some resources on where to get some stuff at. Building a website and registering your name. Okay, that's a very important step because you need your customers to go somewhere. So I'm going to show you some resources on where you can do that. And then lastly, you want to start making money, right? That's the whole point of writing the music and getting your record label out there. Well, we got to get those artist deals, we got to get those contracts, and then since we do have a record label, our whole end state is to be able to distribute that music and make it popular for people to listen to. I'll show you some resources on how you can do that as well. So, I have a record label. That's a big statement, right? You don't want to just go around and just start saying it to anybody. So you want to catch people's attention by highlighting that brand. Get that brand out there and make people recognize you as an independent artist and a label. So as I mentioned before, Adam Freeman said that if you have a SoundCloud and a Facebook page, that's basically the starting foundation for your record label. Well, there's a lot more to it. So we're going to look at different things to consider as you continue working on building that good record label. Alright, choosing that music. What does that actually mean? As I mentioned before in my introduction, you want to pick a specific genre. I, for instance, relate closely to country artists. So, if you do pick country, that means basically that everything you're going to provide is going to cater to that country artist inside of you. So, keeping in mind, that's going to be resources. That's going to be reach out to different venues that actually have country artists performing. That's going to be the way you actually record music. And the way you actually produce your music is going to have to cater to that specific type of artist. So be sure that whenever you're choosing your genre, that it actually matches with your subject matter expertise. You don't want to do something that's going to be outside of your league or outside of your ballpark, because that will start in a quick failure position. Next thing you need to consider is how you're actually going to be providing the art itself. So now you've done all the recordings, and now you're actually starting to produce, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to pick a physical means, or are you going to do digital means? Well, a lot of that physical means requires a lot of money up front. You have to start thinking about, if I do physical, well, that means I'm going to have to produce CDs. That means I'm going to probably have to do that whole nostalgic thing, wherever they actually make vinyl records now, which a lot of companies, bigger labels, are starting to do. They actually produce a vinyl record, because a lot of people like that nostalgia. Or are you going to be that guy that only does the distribution through a digital means? Pick a streaming website like SoundCloud or like Napster, or any of one of iTunes, for instance. One big one, right? Everybody loves iTunes. Are you going to be that person that only puts the music out there? That's probably going to be a lower cost threshold and probably easier for you to get started. That helps generate that income to where you could potentially end up being that record label that actually does produce physical means in the future. So just keep that in mind. Next thing you want to consider is choosing the name, right? Your whole entire record label. How do you decide on a name? Well, the biggest point here that you need to figure out is that yes, your name might be unique and it might be something that you thought about for months or maybe even years. But you know what? The world has direct access to the internet and it's so easy to find information. So guess what? Go out there and Google and make sure that that name that you want is actually available. Yeah, there's websites out there. For instance, the screen capture shows Name Studio. It's a website that helps you punch in a name and it'll go out to all these different websites and it looks for a way to find out whether or not your name has already been taken or bought. If that's the case, you're going to have to get a little bit more creative and find something that hasn't been used already. So you can use a web domain registrar as well. Using a web domain registrar usually has a list of all those different names that are already utilized. So if it's free, go ahead and buy that web domain. Then you can go ahead and start establishing your footprint. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that within your state, you also have a state database that has a list of all the different corporations and LLCs, limited liability corporations. So you can go out to your physical state website and look up specific names that you're trying to consider for your record label. You want to make sure that you're legitimate and you need to register that stuff because when it comes tax time, you need to make sure that whatever business you are doing, the state has a registered trademark of your name in their database, so that way you're not causing any kind of fraud. Then you want to make sure that whatever name you pick, you might want to use the Federal Trademark Registry. It's another good resource for you to be able to find out whether or not your name is taken or if it's being used by another company. Now that you've gotten your name, what's the next thing you want to do? You want to establish your brand, right? You want to make sure that that brand is representing you and your company properly. So producing that logo establishes your brand and your identity. You want to take that brand to the next level. You want to start creating t-shirts, making logos, different banners, selling merchandise. Those are all very important. You got that name sealed, right? So you want to take it to the next step. Be able to give people a way for them to recognize you out in the public and to put you out in front of other people. So as these logos that you can see on my slide here represent all these major companies like Disney, Visa, Shell, IBM, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, all recognizable brands. Be sure to keep this in mind. Whenever you are designing your brand, don't just do something from your own laptop. Try to go out there and find a professional to help you design your brand because that's going to be the very first thing that people look at whenever they come to find your business. And locked in. Now you've got the name, you're set, your foundation is built. What's the next thing you want to do? Build a website. Or you need to go register that name as well. The good thing is that social media provides a very good foundation for you to be able to get started. Go to Facebook, create a web page, find something that's easy to use to where you can get started. You want to put the information out there, social media is a good way of getting that stuff out there. Next thing is if you don't want just social media and you want to get legitimate a little bit better, then be sure to visit some of these websites I have listed on my slides. GoDaddy, WordPress, Wix, Web.com, Weebly, Site123. Those are all some of the top 5 websites that you can go to and actually get free domains to be able to create a website initially. You can buy into additional packages to help your stuff make it look more unique, but these are good foundations. All right, artist deals and contracts. So you've got your foundation, you've got your merchandise, and you've got your website. What are you going to do now? You want to start looking for the artists that relate to your label. So keeping in mind, those country artists is what you really want to look for. Is the label going to be paying in advance? Are they going to be a deal for one album or several albums? That's a huge factor. And then, how will those earnings be distributed? Those earnings need to be distributed properly. But how are you going to do that? Well, some of the top distribution companies that exist out there are DistroKid, Amuse, AWOL, CD Baby, Ditto Music, and many, many more. If you go out to this website called Aries Deep Dive, check out his link, look at his profile, and read his article. He lists out all of the different distribution companies and rates them from highest to lowest. That will help you make your decision, because in the end, you want to be able to find the right resource that fits your record label and to be able to distribute that music properly. Okay, lastly, building a label takes effort and organization. Create something and just have it sit there afloat all alone by itself without a paddle, right? You need to make sure you have this foundation working for you. So be sure to consider what music genre you're working with. After you've found your groove, get into that Google box and search for the name that fits you. Once you found that name, go out there and register it. Once you've registered it, now create a website, design your logo, and you know what? Now you've become a unique brand that you can market for yourself. Those artists are going to start coming to you. They're going to look for you as the producer and the record label, and they want to get their music out there. So keeping in mind, once you have that established and you got those contracts written, you need to provide them the resource saying, hey, I have these different websites, and I can distribute your works of art and be able to put you on the billboards. And when you're ready, you want to seal that deal. Make sure those contracts are ready and available. That way, at any given moment, you can put your hard work to rest and let the artist start making money for you. This is where the generation of income comes from. This is where the hard work will eventually pay off once you have everything in order. Thank you very much for being in my speech. I hope you enjoyed what I had to provide. If you want to look for more resources, check me out on Facebook. My name is Chuck Ruffin. You can find me at Chuck Ruffin Music, or you can look for me anywhere else on Instagram and on Facebook. All right, have a great day. Thank you very much.